Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Polish national tournaments here with the European Unity League. I'm Lucifer. I'm joined by the wonderful Bal, and it's
Yeah.
time.
It is time to.
All of those players, they have qualified for the European Magic Cup. We will be seeing them in Bologna early next year. But let's talk about this matchup, Bal, as we have Boris Energy versus Yorgmoth. We can say that Wojciech Kowalczuk did win his first game, so we are starting on game 2. Let's have a look as our players are getting into sideboarding here. Now, Bal, what do we think about the Boris Energy Yorgmoth matchup? Obviously, we know that Yorgmoth did take down the first game.
Yes, we have a creature-based combo deck against an aggro heavy on removal deck. So I believe it. I've said this earlier today. I think it can go both ways, but I think Yawgmoth has slightly edge on this matchup, especially because even if their creatures are dead, they can just come out. They can pop off out of nowhere with an empty board through Agatha Soul Cauldron and infinite loops, and the worst would be infinite life at the very least. So Boros wouldn't be able to come from there.
Absolutely. While our players are sideboarding for game 2, let's just have a quick look at certain deck lists and see if we can piece together a sideboarding plan for both of our players. Boris Energy typically has access to cards like Orim's Chant, Surgical Extraction, Celestial Purge, Containment Priest, Damping Spheres, High Noon, Reprieve, Wrath of the Skies, maybe a Blood Moon or two, a couple of copies of Wear Tears, Showdown of the Scolds. Maybe you're playing the new card from Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Legend of Roku, a very powerful saga that flips into quite a strong creature, a 4/4 with firebending 4 that can make some dragons that also have firebending 4. It also does a similar thing to what Showdown of the Skulls used to do in these sort of matchups. What do we think Boris wants?
Yeah, I believe Celestial Purge is a great way to deal with the Yawgmoth, especially because killing it is sometimes not enough, because it can then be exiled to Soul Cauldron from the yard, and you still have access to it without paying 4 mana. So Purge is great. Containment Priest, if they have it, it's pretty good as well. Then I would say Wrath of the Skies, especially as a way to hopefully get rid of. You just don't commit to the board so early, and then you try to bank on a well-timed Wrath of the Skies. And Wear Tear is also a must. If they have Clarion Conqueror, is also back-breaking for Yawgmoth.
Absolutely, and let's have a quick look at the Yorgmoth side here and see what what kind of sideboards we've got. We typically have access to cards like Fatal Push, usually a 4 of in the board, to 2 copies of Thoughtseize, Collector Roof, Outland Liberator, 1 Scavenging Ooze, quite a few copies of Fulminating Mage, and a couple copies of Force of Vigor. What do we think we want against Boros Energy as our players are?
Fatal Push, I would say, it should come in, especially if you're fearing a Clarion Conqueror, because if you at some point you have your lands earth banded through the Bejermal Cup, you just get out of the games. Like you can no longer even tap them for mana. Outland Liberator, maybe. Scavenging Ooze is great to eat those Flages, and maybe the Force of Vigors, considering Blood Moon, I think it's gonna go out, but dealing with the Goblin Bombardments, if they are cast early enough, or even a Fable, can be good to gain some momentum.
Absolutely, and it looks like our players have started off. We are going to see an Ocelot Pride on turn 1 off of a Sacred Foundry for Mikita Sharabaku, and we see Young Wolf on the other side for Wojciech Kowalczuk. Passing the turn now, going on to turn 2 of this game. Mikita has a lot of options for the 2-drop slot.
Definitely. It's a deck really strong on going on the curve turn. 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop, and yeah, deal with it. We have a Chump Block, triggering Undying and returning the Wolf as a 2/2.
Undying trigger, very powerful, and the first strike of Ocelot Pride, meaning that Ocelot Pride is going to stick on the battlefield through that trade, going to gain a life for Mikita, which is going to allow him to make a cat, contributing to that all-important threshold of 10 permanents to get the city's blessing. We're going to see him crack a Marsh Flats now. We're going to get a basic Plains. What is he about to play for his second turn? Perhaps an Ajani?
Voice of Victor.
Voice of Victory. Voice of Victory, a very powerful card in its own right in these Boros Energy decks. Looks like we may have missed the cat trigger, but we have resolved that now. Cat coming onto the battlefield. 5 permanents already now. Potentially getting City's Blessing next turn with that Voice of Victory.
Yeah, a land +2, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 at the very least, 9 from the cat. If he casts a creature and a land, it's enough. And that's that's great because they can just order the triggers in that. So the cat Ocelot trigger resolves first and still sees the 2 warrior tokens in play before they are sacrificed, which means they also get to create those 2 warriors back that untapped also. So yeah, so a Guide of Souls next turn would be bonkers.
Guide of Souls next turn would be quite strong, but Wojciech Kowalczuk unable to cast any more spells on his opponent's turn, but Walking Ballista is going to do a very good job of dealing with this Ocelot Pride, perhaps being able to chump block something and still killing an Ocelot Pride, preventing 2 bits of damage there, and stopping Ocelot Pride from going off too early on in this game. Looks like Wojciech has a lot of options here in the face of this Voice of Victory.
Yep, definitely. I don't think that Ocelot is going to trigger anytime soon.
I think you are right in that assessment, Bal. Mikita looking up his options. I think he's put a basic mountain to the front of his grip, or perhaps that is another copy of Sacred Foundry. Eyeing up his options here. Looks like he has an embarrassment of riches here. Many options he has. He's going to take 2 damage to play an Ocelot, to play a Sacred Foundry, untapped, as we see Ajani Nakadal Pariah coming down. Not something a Walking Ballista can answer.
Interesting that the Ballista didn't fire to kill Ocelot here. And if... that's a big misplay, I would say.
In response to the Ajani?
Yeah, otherwise now Ajani is gonna flip regardless, and meaning, yeah, Ocelot unless he's okay with Ocelot just surviving. But
And now we have the City's Blessing.
yeah.
Well, those 2 soldier tokens being permanents 9 and 10. So now we have the City's Blessing for the rest of the game. Nothing Wojciech can do about that anymore, as we see a double block here on that Voice of Victory. Voice of Victory can only kill the Walking Ballista, so we're going to get a 1-for-1 trade here. I think Wojciech is quite happy with that, but Ocelot Pride now has the City's Blessing, and we're about to make a lot of tokens here, Bol.
Yeah, that's gonna be 2 cats, 2 warriors, and a 2/1 cat from Ajani as well. I would want to. So next turn, a land, a cub, and a Court of Calling. That's the only thing I can see, like him really wanting the Voice of Victory out with this trade, is being able to convoke a card during Mikita's turn. Otherwise, I don't understand this sequencing.
Now we have an absolutely massive board off this Ocelot Pride. We made a 1/1 cat off the Pride. We made 2 1/1 soldier tokens off the Voice of Victory. And we made a 2/1 cat off of Ajani. All of those, we're going to have additional copies of those coming into play. And we do not have to sacrifice those soldiers that we made off of the Ocelot Pride. So they're here to stay. And we've got a very big board on the Boros Energy side. Perhaps Wojciech regretting not pinging that Ocelot Pride with the Walking Ballista in response to an Ajani here. So now it's just no longer favorable for him to do so. Dredge's Insight is going to come down now as we see 2 Fatal Pushes come off. That is not what you want if you're Wojciech. You ideally want to have those in your hand to answer problematic permanents from your opponent's side. Now we're seeing 2 copies of Fatal Push going into the bin. This is not looking very good for Wojciech Kowalczuk.
And an Endurance as well. But yeah, I think Flage is the least of his concerns at the moment.
Absolutely. Wojciech has no choice but to just pass the turn to Mikita Sherbaku, who is going to play an Elegant Parlor as his land for turn. We're going to look at the top card of that library. Looks like he's thinking about whether or not he wants to keep it on top or put it on his graveyard. And it looks like it is quite the decision for him. He's got an overwhelming board state facing just a Young Wolf on the side of the table, but we obviously know what this Golgari Yawgmoth deck is capable of. A single copy, just 1 copy of Agatha's Soul Cauldron can blow this game wide open with a Dredge's Insight on the battlefield. So Mikita's got to be thinking about that.
Definitely, and I was mentioning the Court of Calling earlier. He did left that swamp open, so probably he does have a push in hand and is hoping to get away with it, I guess.
Absolutely. Mikita taking the time to consider his options here. Does he want to potentially go for a full swing in with his cats? Wojciech doesn't really have a way to block favorably, but a Fatal Push in hand could throw a spanner in the works there for him. But his board is just overwhelming. As we see a full swing now, everything's coming in, bar that Ajani. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 power coming in onto the battlefield. As we see a block on the Ocelot Pride from the Young Wolf here.
Yep, life is gained regardless at first strike. It does die, triggers, and there's the push.
And there's the push for the Ajani. Absolutely what Wojciech needed here. Without that Fatal Push, that Ajani was going to flip, and there were more than enough creatures for that 0 ability to kill Wojciech immediately. What, we were going to deal like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage to face off a single 0.
Yep.
Nah, I mean, that's just game ending. There's no way you block that Ocelot Pride without a push. Mikita still does have a very powerful board as we see another copy of Ajani Nakadal Pariah. And if we have... It looks like we don't have a means to kill one of the cat tokens. If we did, we could end this game right here, right now. But Wojciech is going to get another turn now. We're going to see what he can do. Does he have something like an Agatha's Soul Cauldron to potentially start the infinite loop with the Dredge's Insight? We have 2 out of 3 on the battlefield for the combo. It looks like a Young Wolf is going to be the play from Wojciech.
And
this looks like a Grist now. Grist has had the ability to -2 and sacrifice a creature to destroy target creature or planeswalker, so we can deal with the Ajani that way and stop it from flipping. But there is still an overwhelming board here for Mikita Sharbaku. Lots of ways that he can close out this game. Goblin Bombardment will do it. Flage will do it.
Yeah, I think he cannot kill Ajani because even if Young Wolf returns, there's lethal with the tokens. Wait, what? He's going for it? He has 2 walkers for 2 2/1s, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
He does gain a life off the Dredge's Insight Mind for the Undying trigger. So Wojciech should be at 8 here, which is 1 off of lethal if every single token attacks from Mikita's side. It looks like Path to Exile here is going to exile a Young Wolf. I think that's going to do it, Bol. I think we're about to see Mikita take game 2 here.
Yeah, looks that's it, indeed.
And that's exactly it. Wojciech Kowalczuk is going to pack it in. And we're down to a game 3 here in the quarterfinals. Mikita Sharbaku takes down game number 2 over the powerful Golgari Yawgmoth deck. Ocelot Pride does what Ocelot Pride does best, right?
Yeah, that creature is insane. Especially with Voice of Victory, the 2 together. Oof. Just get the City's Blessing so early, so fast. You get to get your tokens back, the warriors, which notably they are red. So if he were to flip a Johnny, he had already a red permanent.
That 0 is going to deal 2 damage. That's going to deal damage. It's going to deal quite a lot of damage to Kowalczuk's face. You've got to feel like Wojciech perhaps regretting not pinging the Ocelot Pride in response to that Ajani there. What do you think? Perhaps he has something else on his mind.
Maybe. So there, he could have been playing around a Galvanic Discharge on one of the tokens and then flipping regardless and losing the creature. And he apparently did have the Fatal Push in hand, so I think he play specifically to that Fatal Push in response. So, yeah.
Alas, it not going very well for Wojciech Kowalczuk in that second game. As we now go to a game 3 here, our players presenting their decks. You know, Wojciech may be finishing up his shuffling, but Mikita's deck has now been cut, and we're going to see what his 7 looks like. Mikita looking to replicate the absolute board dominance that he put together very early on in game 2, looking to seep out a win in game 3 to advance to the semi-finals. He's already got his match qualification for the European Magic Cup, but he wants that Bayou. Well, he wants that Bayou, he wants the trophy, he wants to be called the Polish national champion.
Oh, definitely.
He wants that absolutely beautiful Heavy Play playmat. Thanks to Heavy Play for sponsoring the European Unity League. He wants that lovely deck list. He's already getting those. Can I just say, I've seen those Eldrazi promos in person. I have played with them playing Pauper.
Oh, really?
And yeah, Pauper of all formats. And they are just gorgeous. I'm very jealous. And here we go now. We see a turn 1 play here from Wojciech. And I don't know what that is. Is it a Dryad Arbor? It can't be.
He paid mana for it, so...
Could it be is it a Young Wolf? It might be a borderless Young Wolf. It probably is a Young Wolf.
Oh, yeah. It's the... yeah. It's one of those reprints from
Innistrad Remastered, right?
Innistrad Remastered, exactly. Altered artwork.
Absolutely. Very, very, very gorgeous Young Wolves. Here's something I found very interesting about the way Wojciech has been playing this match. He's been searching for quite a lot of basics in his deck. Uh-oh, here's a Badgermole Cub. That's going to be quite strong. But we see he's been quite proactive in searching for basics. Do you think he has due cause to be respecting Blood Moon so heavily here?
I think Blood Moon would be eventually boarded out, but I think he can also get away with it because it doesn't. It's not so often that you would be punished by not having double black early on or something. So he's also saving some life total in that sense, especially against such an aggro deck like that. He only needs double black for Yawgmoth, which can come down a little bit later, and yeah, I think this early on, I don't think he needs to go so aggressive into shocking himself.
I would see a galvanic discharge here. That's going to deal with that Badger Maul Cub. No extra mana for you, my friend. We're going to have 1 energy now. Now we just have a lowly Guide of Souls and a Dream. We're going to swing with that Guide of Souls. Wojciech decides not to block. Instead opting to take the 1 damage. Going to go down to 18. Wojciech's board, very respectable here. You know, he's got the mana, he's got the Young Wolf. You know, if that land never gets killed, it's going to come back tapped. So he's not really worried about a removal spell. So we see Agatha's Soul Cauldron come down.
It's interesting that it didn't block, because he would it would have grown Young Wolf into a 2/2, being able now to lethally block the Soul Sister. At the same time, he could be playing around a Surgical Extraction, which, if that was the case, well played, I think.
A very heads-up play there, potentially, from Wojciech.
Yeah.
Respecting cards like Surgical Extraction that could have in his sideboard. Wojciech not doing much more than that, not going into combat or anything like that, maybe leaving the Young Wolf up for a block on a later turn. Also leaving up that Windswept Heath. As we see, Makita is now considering his options for his 3rd turn of the game. He's got a Guide of Souls. Does he have any other means to apply some pressure? Maybe get some energy to, you know, maybe jump this Guide of Souls and put Wojciech on a real clock. So we see Arid Mesa is the land drop for Makita. He's really thinking about the kind of things that Wojciech could have, you know, representing something like a Fatal Push. He could exile his Badger Maul Cub at any time to pump up his creature if he so wishes. Would forego the Undying on the Young Wolf, but perhaps that's a worthy trade to deal with the Guide of Souls. We see the Arid Mesa is now cracked for Wojciech. Makita going down to 16 now. Just going to get a basic mountain is Makita.
Yep, definitely.
We're going to see what he's going to cast. It looks like he's eyeing up something. Paying 3 mana. Is that a Flage?
Ooh!
No, that is a Clarion Conqueror, and that is a big problem if your name is Wojciech Kowalczuk.
Indeed. Especially now, he's cracking. Okay, see, if he has the Fatal Push, that's great. Otherwise,
he's in big trouble.
Yeah. And I don't think he should have cracked the fetch if he doesn't have it in hand, because he might need it later on. Okay, surveilling.
So it looks like Wojciech does not have an answer for that Clarion Conqueror. This does notably mean, Bal, that that land that we earthbended on turn 2 of this game
Yep.
can no longer be activated.
Yep. That's gonna be painful. He's definitely needs to find a Fatal Push now, and even if he finds it, he kind of needs... He needs Revolt. He needs to trigger Revolt somehow, so... it looks like he has a Windswept Teeth in his hand, so he's still able to do so.
It looks like another Young Wolf entering the graveyard here. And it looks like we're going to exile the Badger Maul Cub under the Agatha Soul Cauldron in response to the Clarion Conqueror. What are we going to put a counter on? We're going to put it on the Young Wolf. So Young Wolf no longer able to get an Undying trigger, but it will now stop that Guide of Souls from attacking in.
Yep, definitely.
So a very heads-up play there from Wojciech. As Makita now in a commanding position with that Clarion Conqueror on the battlefield. That swamp no longer taps for black. He's only got access to 3 mana this turn if he needs it. That is a 3rd Young Wolf and a fetch land, so he has access to Revolt for Fatal Push should he have it. Just going to gum up the board here.
Definitely.
I do see a Flage.
Yep.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. You want something like that if you're Makita, and there is an Arena of Glory on Makita's side of the battlefield, so that can be escaped with haste if we can get enough cards in the graveyard to enable it. I think there are 2 Flages in Makita's hand.
Yep. Yeah. He does need to pressure. Killing that one of the Young Wolves, I mean, he's going to get the 3rd energy, and the Guide of Souls will be able to jump. Oh, a Spyro, even better. Oh, he's now discards both.
Spyro is going to make a lot of energy. We're going to discard a Flage and a Plains. Keep one of those Flages in hand now. We're going to draw 2 cards. We're going to make 2 1/1s. That's going to be 3 energy and 3 life for Makita. He goes back up to 20, I believe. And now he can jump. Now we can jump that Guide of Souls and really start to pressure Wojciech's life total. This game looks to be slipping away from our Yawgmoth player.
Yep, a single fetch land next turn is able to escape Flage with haste and possibly seal the deal, because that's gonna be 6 in the air now.
Peter was eyeing up attacking with both of his creatures here. But now, perhaps rethinking his decision. Does he want to jump the Guide of Souls and attack for 6 here? Or does he want to just attack with the 1? Guide of Souls is going to jump. Okay, it's going to jump the Clarion Conqueror.
Okay.
Now we're swinging for 5. Very interesting play from Makita here.
I mean, the only reason I would see for this is to try to jump it again next turn in case it survives to bypass any dismember, because now it still dies to dismember. It needs to jump again. So to be honest, I think he's losing damage this way, especially if there's a push anywhere in the horizon, because he's putting all of the stuff in the same horse. How do you say it? All of the... Okay, but nothing was done in the end step. Okay, here
recognizes through a 3rd copy of Agatha's Soul Cauldron.
Oh.
He does have a Yawgmoth in hand, but I don't know that he has the 4th mana to cast it. He does have another copy of Windswept Heath, but is just going to pass the turn. Isn't looking to play this Yawgmoth. He does have access to pretty much as many Yawgmoth triggers as he can pay the life for if he wants to.
No, but the Conqueror prevents him from activating Yawgmoth.
You're absolutely right. I missed that.
That's why.
Perhaps not what he wants here.
And yeah, he needs to find a really fatal push, and that's why he kept one of the Windswept Heaths without uncracked last turn. So
absolutely, but Wojciech in this position with a hand of just Agatha's Soul Cauldron and Yawgmoth, absolute bricks from the Yawgmoth side in the face of a Clarion Conqueror. And Wojciech got to be feeling like this game has slipped away from him. There's a Flage in the graveyard. There's an Arena of Glory. He can. All he needs is a ham sandwich, and he's got a 6 card in the graveyard to escape that Flage with haste, and then it's donezo for him.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose he didn't drew a fetch land, or he doesn't have one. Otherwise, it would be almost game over. Oh, okay, so it's another Arena of Glory.
That is another copy of Arena of Glory, and here's a Goblin Bombardment from Makita. Is that going to be enough? I don't think it is right now, but if this board gets a little bit gummier, that is going to be a huge threat. We're going to swing in for 5 here. That's going to bring Wojciech down to 7. Oh, but the Flage is going to do it. The Flage is going to deal 3 damage, and we can sacrifice all of our creatures. Mikita Sharbaku is going to take this match down 2-for-1 against Wojciech Kowalczuk on Yawgmoth. Boros Energy makes it over to the semi-finals.
That's yeah. That he had everything apparently. We were here trying to figure it out, and he just making sure there was no counterplay, and he did it.
We're all sat here thinking, oh, what can he do? He's got a commanding position. How does he win? He had the win in hand the whole time.
Yep.
We didn't need to say anything. He already had it. He already knew what he was doing.
Yeah, just slow rolling, making sure there was no outplay that could have happened. And yeah, up to the moment, if there was no fatal push being cast up to that precise moment, there wasn't any fatal push. Otherwise, it would have been used the sorcery speed to propel his game in the last turn. So I think that was the read, possibly.
Absolutely. A very, very dominant set of games from Mikita's side there. You know, providing just a really, really fast clock, really, really quickly. Wojciech armed with, you know, just a couple of young wolves, maybe one too many, perhaps. Not really that much that he could have done about it at that stage, and it just kind of felt like the Boros Energy deck just snowballed incredibly quickly, as it usually does.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Clarion Conqueror, there's still some lists online that are not, well, we see them online, but they are kind of a week late or something. They are not yet adapting to the amount of Yawgmoth players resurging, and that card can just
end the game. What could Wojciech do? He couldn't do anything.
Nothing. Even the lands become nothing.
He earthbended a swamp to have as a creature, and he couldn't tap it for mana anymore. He just lost mana, and then he just drew Soul Cauldron and then Yawgmoth, and then it just breaks. You don't want to play a 4-mana 2/4 in Modern. It's rubbish. You're just gonna lose.
Exactly.
Very unfortunate. that you can fill in to provide your feedback on how you think this Unity League season has gone, maybe suggest improvements, and see how we can improve the Unity League going into 2026, which is just around the corner, as terrifying as that is for me to say. I will be putting a link in the chat right now. I just have, and if you want to check out the survey, maybe fill it in. Any and all feedback you can give to the European Unity League team will be more than valuable in helping them shape what the European Unity League looks like in 2026 and moving forward. So if you do find the time to fill in that survey, please do give your feedback. It is so useful to them, and we really do want to make this tournament circuit work. I think is a great thing for Europe to have something like this in a similar way as maybe the NRG series or Apex Gaming in the US having these big sort of tournaments. It's great for us in Europe that we have this, and I think if we can find a way to improve it and future-proof it for future years and future seasons, I think that's a great thing. So please do fill in that survey if you can find the time. I have just linked it in the chat for all of you. All right. I think that does it for the quarterfinals, Bal.
Yes, I think we will do a short break until we get our next semifinals match. And yeah, stay tuned. Shouldn't take much. Do have in mind that these games are now untimed. And we have to wait for the match to finish. Because they are being recorded in Poland, sent to us, and we are now broadcasting them to you. So it can take a little bit more than the usual 50-minute rounds. So yeah, just stay tuned, and we should be back soon.
Don't go anywhere, folks.
See ya.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Polish National Qualifier for the European Unity League. I'm Lucifer. I'm joined by Bal. Got the right side this time. I've nailed it. I'm so getting good at this. And it is time for the semi-finals of our tournaments. But let's have a little catch-up on our top 8 here. But now, Bal, we have Nikita versus Max.
Exactly. Let's see how it goes this match. We are somewhat familiar with it, apparently, right? And yeah, we have a remake, but I don't know. Maybe it's gonna be more interesting. Not that the other one was not interesting, but
The previous match was, we obviously didn't get to see game one, so we can't speak to what happened in that game, how back and forth it was, any sort of interesting plays from either player's side. But games 2 and 3 were very much a wash for the Boris Energy deck. Wojciech Kowalczuk perhaps regretting not answering an Ocelot Pride when he could have, and the overwhelming board state resulting from that just being too much for him to handle. And in game 3, something like a Clarion Conqueror just completely shutting him out of the game and no fatal push to actually answer anything on the battlefield for Kowalczuk. But it's a clean slate. We've got Maximilian Brzybilski, a teammate of one of our other semi-finals players. I believe that player is Kasper Schneider, both players from Krakow. Tested for this tournament together. Perhaps they'll end up in the finals together. We will wait and see. But our Boros Energy player is going to be on the draw for game number 1, as Max Onyogboth is the top seed in the tournament. How do we think Boros Energy being on the draw is going to affect this matchup?
Well, I think they will have to consider probably being a little bit more control-y in the sense of killing early board creatures from the Yawgmoth side, early dorks. If anything, galvanic blasting their dorks or anything in that sense, and then go a little bit wide. Which is inevitable for Boros Energy to go wide. So, and the Yawgmoth you've seen, usually they have fatal push in the sideboard. So, eventually, their board control comes from Yawgmoth itself. Mm-hmm. So, since Yawgmoth is on the play, it could be that depending how it goes, of course, it could be that they go wider sooner than Boros. Or it could be that all of their threats are answered because Boros simply has that much creature removal.
Absolutely. So it looks like both sides of this matchup, have a pretty good chance. It seems like a relatively balanced matchup for the semi-final, so could go either way here. Max on the play. It's definitely going to give him a bit of a boost going into game 1. He's going to look to take game 1 down. If we end up going to a game 3, he's going to end up going first if that happens. So that will be a very important boon for him against a deck that can go very wide very quickly.
Yeah, exactly. That turn one Zenith for a Dryad Arbor or a Delighted Halfling can boost his turn 2, which Badger Mole Cup just boosted this deck back into existence.
Right.
Yeah.
Avatar: The Last Airbender. We've seen it have quite a large impact on a number of different formats. Standard being completely overhauled with stuff like the Is It Lessons deck, the Bant Airbending combo deck. Badger Mole Cub doing so well in Modern, and even breaking into Legacy as just a really powerful card. Leyline of Abundance was a very powerful card in Pioneer that got banned very early on in the format because its effect was just so strong so early, and now we just have Badger Mole Cub, which comes into effect about as early as Leyline of Abundance did. So we've got a very, very, very powerful set on our hands here, and Badger Mole Cub breaking through into Modern, I think, has been a lovely. I think it's been a lovely thing.
Yeah, and it creates this interesting counterintuitive and how do you say, not intuitive scenario where you are used to bolt the bird and bolt the dogs, but here you bolt the enabler. you bolt the cub that's basically doubling all of the other mana producing sources because the land is just coming back. And here we have it. Yeah,
we have an Overgrown Tomb untapped that's going to put a Delighted Halfling into play. Now we're going to see Makita playing a Flooded Strand as his first land. Going to crack that. Ooh, a very shiny Flooded Strand. I approve. What are we going to get here off of that? We are going to get an untapped Sacred Foundry. Do we perhaps have an answer for this Delighted Halfling on Max's side of the battlefield? Yes, we do. That's going to answer that, and leaving one energy left over. I do see a Ragavan in Makita's hand as well, but Makita deciding that dealing with that Delighted Halfling is way more important than anything else in this board situation, as we see Maximilian is untapping for his turn. What is he going to be looking to play for his second turn of the game? It looks like he's eyeing up potentially an Underground Mortuary. Oh, no, that's a Spymaster's Vault. My apologies. It's Hapatra.
Ooh.
Is going to come down very early for a Hapatra here.
Yeah, I mean, it does block most of the one-powered creatures that Boros can bring out, and yeah, still maybe just the only thing he has going on, but
perhaps the only thing he has got going on, or perhaps a Badger Mole Cub into nothing, isn't exactly what he's looking for here. As we see Makita Sharbaku is going to crack an Arid Mesa, going to get a basic Plains here. Getting a basic at the moment, perhaps telling of what Makita might have in his hand in the face of Max's two non-basic lands ball.
Yeah, definitely this Boros energy decks got back into main boarding one max up to two Blood Moons, but so yeah, it could be. It's not gonna be a turn two ramped by Ragavan Blood Moon, of course, but later on it could be still something.
Absolutely, but in the meantime, all we have is a Voice of Victory here for Makita. A very powerful card against the Yawgmoth deck. Not very many ways that Max is able to answer a 1/3 without committing a lot of resources onto the board. We'll see what he has here. We see Agatha's Soul Cauldron is going to be the draw for Brzybilski. We're going to see an attack here with a Hapatra, and that creature in the graveyard means that Voice of Victory can no longer block.
Yep, and he does go for the 3 extra damage, apparently.
Is gonna do that. We have a 3/3 Hapatra now that can tap for mana, but it is notably going to deal 3 damage to Makita, bringing him down.
Did he fail a land drop though? It's okay, let's see if he plays one in the second main phase. Oh right, he also has it also triggers in itself, right? You put one or more. No, it's the combat damage creating a snake. Well, putting a -1/-1 on Voice of Victory that then triggers to create a snake.
And it's our 1/1 snake with Death Touch, let's not forget. That is going to make attacking very difficult for Mikita Sharbaku. Maximilian having a very powerful board state now. That 1/1 Death Toucher is going to be a big problem for Mikita from this position. Let's see if Mikita has anything he can do about it. We just see a Windswept Heath played as the land for Max. Mikita potentially eyeing up a 2-drop here. What 2-drop could it be? Could it be an Ajani? I see a Goblin Bombardment.
Ooh, yeah.
That's going to be very useful in breaking through with this snake token.
Yeah. Yeah, especially because the -1/-1 means that the Voice of Victory would simply die to the snake on attacks. But at the very least, he can sack one of the warriors before blockers. Yeah.
And that is exactly what he's going to do. He's going to trade 1-for-1, a blocker for a snake. And it's going to only deal 1 damage in, but 1 damage is better than nothing, right? 1 damage, 1 life is the only life that matters in a game of Magic. Maximilian is going to go down to 18. We know that Mikita is currently at 13. Nope. No, yes, he is at 13. Life tracker, unfortunately, has not updated. But I do have him down as being at 14 life. 13 life, sorry. He is fetched twice, one of which was a shock, and taken 3 off of the Hepatra. I will just keep a note of that. We're at 13 life here for Mikita. Does Mikita have something else to put onto the battlefield? Maybe answer this Hepatra, as this Hepatra is going to be a problem for him as the game goes along, as we see Badger Mole Cub entering the graveyard off of an underground mortuary.
Hepatra is a one-off in this deck and is hugely strong with Yawgmoth. So if Yawgmoth comes down, there's another attack, another snake, and another -1/-1. Yep.
Now a single Yawgmoth, which I think we're about to see here, is now going to be able to pick off that Voice of Victory very quickly.
That's huge.
Max is only on 18, and we're on turn 3 of this game, Raul. Ball even.
They should sacrifice the voice to kill the snake in response before it actually enters play. Otherwise, it just gives him an extra card for nothing. But they did not.
Has not done that. Max is going to go down to 17.
Of course, the play would still be there. Well, it would not still be there. It would be one less creature that he could sack to draw a card, because he would never sack the Patra.
We do see the life totals have now updated for Mikita. So Mikita correctly at 10 life, Maximilian at 13. Yawgmoth doing a lot for him. It's probably going to be very difficult for Mikita to get back from this position. I believe an Avatar of Legend of Roku, sorry, in Mikita's hand. A very powerful saga from Avatar the Last Airbender, but unfortunately not the 4th mana to cast it just yet. Now he's facing down a Yawgmoth, a Patra, and an Agatha Soul Cauldron. That's going to be a lot for him to answer, but maybe this seasoned Pyromancer can do something about it.
Oh, he's actually discarding the Thraben Charm. Interesting.
Well, that makes sense, right? The Thraben Charm isn't going to do much in this position with a Hepatra and a Yawgmoth on the battlefield. It doesn't. I'm not really convinced that any of his permanents are going to stick around for very long.
Yeah, that's true. I was mostly thinking that it could be, if well timed on an Undying Trigger or something, could be key to. Because if a Young Wolf comes down now, it's gonna be really hard for. I think the board is just Wrath. Well, Goblin Bombardment is giving him a lot of place to maneuver, because as I mentioned that he should have killed the snake by sacrificing it in response. The Yawgmoth ability fizzles and it doesn't even draw cards. So not so bad after all.
Not so bad after all. We see Agatha's Soul Cauldron is being activated now, exiling that Voice of Victory and putting a +1/+1 counter on one of Max's creatures. Now, if he targets the Hepatra, Mikita does have the option to sacrifice all 3 of his creatures to kill the Hepatra currently on the battlefield. And it looks like that is what he's going to do here.
Yep.
Patra is down. But again, nothing on the battlefield for Makita. He's facing an active Yawgmoth and a Soul Cauldron. And he's at 10 life, Baal. I think he's in big trouble.
Yeah. There's 3 coming in. Well, that activation from Soul Cauldron was probably a misplay, and maybe he just noticed later. Still got to draw a card, but if he would have just kept it like that, it could have gave him the game, because casting a creature and then trying to go for an activation to put a +1/+1 counter and so on would have forced him to react with the bombardment earlier.
Oh, hello. Here's a Dredgered Insight now from Maximilian. We're going to look at those cards. Grist is a Planeswalker, but it is seen as a creature to Dredgered Insight. So Grist also an option here. Endurance and also Yawgmoth.
I think you take Endurance and then you exile Greased to Agatha Soul Cauldron and you start doing insects, and I don't think Boros returns from there.
I think that sounds quite reasonable to me. Agatha Soul Cauldron and Grist, allowing Maximilian to give all of his creatures the ability to have Grist's abilities, so they can +1, mill a card, make a bug. You can -2 if they stick around long enough. You can -2, sack something and kill something. But Yawgmoth probably going to do the job just fine, as Yawgmoth now has Grist's abilities, and we're going to make a bug. Put a loyalty counter on the Yawgmoth. And this game is slipping away from Makita very quickly.
Yeah, especially because now Yawgmoth has 5 toughness, so Flage holding priority, sack to bombardment no longer kills Yawgmoth, and it's gonna be hard to deal with it.
Absolutely. As we see Verdant Catacombs, the special guest version, a very beautiful Verdant Catacombs coming down and being sacrificed for a basic forest now from Maximilian. We're going to see what he's going to use that mana for. Looks like a Young Wolf.
That, ooh.
I do believe that is a Secret Lair Young Wolf.
Yeah, it is.
And now we're going to go off.
Yeah, I believe you can draw his whole deck now, because Young Wolf comes back with a +1/+1, which can use Grist's ability to create another insect, and use the insect through Yawgmoth to negate the +1/+1 and keep going, and he's gaining life.
I think it's a net 0 because he pays a life for the Yawgmoth activation and gains 1 off the Dredge's Insight. A second Dredge's Insight can allow him to net 1 life.
Yeah.
He also has the opportunity, if he finds a Walking Ballista, to cast it for 0. Oh no, he's activated his Soul Cauldron already, so that is not an option that's available to him. We cannot gain infinite life from here, I don't think. But this is still a very difficult position for Makita. I think I will be shocked if Makita wins this game from here. He just fell behind so quickly at the start of this game, and I really don't know how you deal with a Soul Cauldron with Grist and Yawgmoth and Young Wolf giving you infinite. I just don't see it.
Yeah, they go somewhat. They can draw a couple of cards, but they need 2 activations, so they are drawing 2 for each 1 life instead of 2 for 2 life. Did you follow?
So yeah, so for each execution of the loop, you net -1 life.
Yeah, because the insect is just 1 life paid, and if he finds another wolf, then he goes even, because both wolves would return from play, triggering the Dredger's Insight.
Let's not forget as well, mind, his creatures with counters on them have the ability to tap for colorless mana.
True. Although
which
summoning
means
Seek, but yeah, true.
the Yorgmoth notably isn't summoning sick.
Hmm.
Think I think everything else is. So that's only one extra mana, but perhaps that could be enough. Perhaps we can find a way to cast a Walking Ballista here and activate and target it with a Spy Master's Vault trigger. It looks like Spy Master's Vault is just going to target the Yorgmoth anyways, and that should be that
Oh,
should
yeah.
be good enough.
Yeah. Yawgmoth was already at 3+1. Ooh.
We're just going to draw 6, I believe, and we've discarded a million cards. That is going to be 6 more +1/+1 counters on the Yorgmoth, which is already 4 power. That is 10 power coming in, attacking. Makita's going to pack it in, and Maximilian is going to win game 1 of this match with the Yorgmoth. The very convoluted
Yep.
wrist Yorgmoth Young Wolf loop.
Yeah,
Getting the job done.
Yep. This deck is amazing. Has so different ways that they can try to find a combo, and it's just everything eventually fits all together. It's quite an interesting deck.
It always brings me great joy to see a deck like Yorgmoth doing well. I remember when it was first previewed in MH1 and everyone lost their minds, like, this card is insane. I'm so glad we finally have Yorgmoth as a card. You know, it ended up getting overshadowed by Urza by quite some margin. But
Yeah.
you know, eventually certain people like, you know, Aaron Barrich really springs to mind as some of the early minds behind the Golgari Yorgmoth deck, finding ways to make the card work in a shell that doesn't necessarily need it to combo off to win. Like, you can just use Yorgmoth as a really powerful engine, you know, answering small creatures, drawing a bunch of cards, and playing a more mid-rangey game. And Yorgmoth absolutely capable of doing this in 2025, albeit with some very supercharged supporting pieces.
Yep. Looks like the Badger moles are being brought to the front to be sided out somehow. And some Malevolent Rumbles because Fatal Pushes are probably coming in, so you don't want to mill those through the Rumble.
Fatal Push probably the first port of call in terms of cards I want to see in game 2.
Yeah.
If I am Max Przybyski, apologies.
I had a glimpse of another Endurance in there, so having access to 2 to keep those Flages out of the yard is good. And for sure, 4 Fatal Pushes and 1/6 card that I didn't see what could have been. Maybe a Scavenging Ooze, I would say.
It looks like we've lost a couple Badger Mole curves, shaved on a couple of Malevolent Rumbles. Probably some Fatal Pushes coming in.
Yep. On the Boros energy side, we saw Mikita already with Surgical Extraction, right? I think so.
I don't know that we saw it in the previous round, but I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see Mikita thinking that a card like Surgical is what he needs. You know, Yorgmoth is a deck that operates a lot from the graveyard, and Surgical Extraction is one of the better options in the format to answer graveyard-based strategies. But I also think the Yorgmoth deck is perfectly capable of working through Surgical Extraction as well. So I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword. We see Max looking at an opening hand. I see a Grist in there. I think I see a Malevolent Rumble. I think I see a Young Wolf as well. Looks like that's what he's bringing to the front of his grip, is potentially his turn 1 play, but it is Mikita who gets the play in game 2 of this semi-finals. It looks like Max has decided to mulligan. It's going to go down to 6. Mikita keeping his 7. I think I see an Ocelot Pride. That's probably going to be his turn 1 play. I think I see a... What else do we see?
A Bombardment, I think.
I think there's a Bombardment there. I think there might also be a Galvanic Discharge. So looking like a very solid hand from Mikita's side in game 2. A Guide of Souls as well. Elegant Parlor as well as a land. I think I see an Arena of Glory as well, so his mana base is looking fairly solid. There's that Goblin Bombardment as well.
Ooh, was
I think
that
a Wrath of the Skies.
Yeah.
I think that is also a Wrath of the Skies. So Makita looking like he's got a pretty stacked hand.
Yeah.
So we see Makita about to take his first turn. Going to play an Arid Mesa and going to crack that. Is he going down to 19 or to 17? Probably going to get a Sacred Foundry, and that's exactly what he does, going down to 17 life. Are we going to see Ocelot Pride or Guide of Souls here? My money's on the Ocelot Pride.
I think I would go for the Guide of Souls because worst case scenario, if there's a blocker. Okay, no, because if there's a 1/2 now, he would still get the cat if it was the Guide of Souls being cast on 1.
Absolutely. And we see a Delighted Halfling off of a Seiju for Maximilian now for his turn 1. Makita eyeing up his options. We know he has an Elegant Parlor in the grip, perhaps looking to play that as his second land drop and utilizing this Galvanic Discharge, but no, going to shock in a Sacred Foundry again, going down to 15 life. Does he have something like an Ajani? I think he might have one at the front of his grip, and perhaps that is what he's looking to play, but no. We're going to see March of Otherworldly Light. It was not a Wrath of the Skies, but still that will answer the Delighted Halfling. And Ocelot Pride going to swing in, going to get a cat. Agatha's Soul Cauldron the draw for the Orgmoth deck. As we see Young Wolf come down. Do we have a second land? No, we don't. Well, we have missed our second land drop, and Makita now firmly in the driver's seat with an Ocelot Pride. We know he has a third land. We know he has options for his third turn of this game. We're going to see Elegant Parlor come down. Is he going to keep it on top or is he going to bin it? Looks like he's considering it. Perhaps keeping the card on top. Do we see something like a Goblin Bombardment here? Just going to swing him with the Ocelot Pride. No blocks from Maximilian. Max is going to go down to 18. Makita up to 17. Life Total's looking a little bit more even now. Are we going to see Goblin Bombardment?
Yep.
Yes, we are. That is permanent number 7 now that comes down as the cat comes down. 7 permanents. Looking like we could very easily get the City's Blessing next turn. And now Max has got his back against the wall. Misses his second land drop again.
That was a greedy keep, I would say, then.
A very greedy keep. We do know that he mulled to 6, perhaps banking on there being a second land on top of the deck, but didn't find one, unfortunately. I think Guide of Souls is about to come down from Akita's side, and this is looking very, very bad. Oh, and here's a Johnny. Is this game over? This game might just be over right now.
I think so. He's gonna be able to fly, deal damage face most likely. Jesus.
Going to be able to jump a creature very shortly. We have the City's Blessing as well. We're going to make a lot of tokens at the end of this turn, Ball, and I don't know that your Morph has the tools to deal with this. This is exactly what Makita wanted to do in the first game. Fell very short of that, was continuously playing on the back foot, but here, he's got the Ocelot Pride, he's got the Ajani, he's got the Goblin Bombardment, his opponent has stumbled heavily. We're going to flip this Ajani now. We're gonna make a cat and start slinging at the face. And it's looking very grim for Max.
Yep. That's 5 direct. Then 1, 2, 3.
And now we're going to get a Guide of Souls trigger off of the 0, which is going to give us to 3 energy. That's the crucial number to start jumping creatures. Potentially going to see this Ocelot Pride come in.
Yeah.
We're going to see them swing with an Ocelot Pride and a cat. Guide of Soul trigger going to go on the stack, and Max is just going to pack it in. We're going to a game 3 now, as Makita evens the score 1-1 with a very dominant Ocelot Pride. Max missing out on his land drops, and Ocelot Pride was the worst thing he could have seen. Notably, Boseiju being his only land as well was very relevant. Even if he had a Fatal Push in hand, no way to kill that Ocelot Pride.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I didn't realize he was down to 6, but still relying that on that dork to survive a turn cycle against Boros, it's a stretch. I don't know if I would just gone down to 5, but well, it could have been that he just doesn't have a galvanic discharge or anything to deal with it on turn 2, but he did have some removal to bolt the bird.
Absolutely, that delighted halfling was exactly what Maximilian needed to give himself a chance in this game. But unfortunately, meeting a March of Otherworldly Light on Mikita's turn 2, nothing else to back it up. It was very much, you know, Max with that 6-card hand putting all of his eggs in one basket, and unfortunately, the basket was torn to shreds, and all the eggs fallen to the ground.
Definitely. There was no sideboarding, as it looks like, so players are keeping their plans, even for game 3.
Looks like no play draw considerations for the sideboarding for both players here. Max does, crucially, have the play on this third game. That is going to give him an advantage into Boros Energy, which really does like to go first. Potentially, if Max was going first in that game, March of Otherworldly Light, maybe Mikita has to 2-for-1 himself to answer that delighted halfling. Maybe has to exile a Johnny or something similar, and maybe we have a slightly different game where Max has a little bit more time to maybe stabilize. But
definitely,
it's very difficult to tell, and Max is really looking for a good hand here. It's on the play. It looks like he's considering it, as Mikita also looking it up. But that is the 7. Looks like Maximilian initially drew 6 and has drawn a 7th. It looks like he's keeping. Looks like Mikita is also happy with the 7. Looks like we're about to start then, as we see Verdant Catacombs coming down from Maximilian, the special guest from Tarkia Dragonstorm. Arid Mesa is going to be the play for Mikita, and a pass of the turn. No 1-drop from Mikita isn't exactly what you want to see. You want to put something on the battlefield very quickly if you're Boros Energy.
Yeah. At the same time, you either surveillance step or maybe you have a galvanic discharge for their turn 2 play. So let's see what happens.
Speaking of surveil lands, here comes an underground mortuary on Mikita's end step for Maximilian. Once we're done shuffling and cutting, we are going to look at the top card of Maximilian's library, and we're going to see if we like it or not. If we don't, we're going to put it in the bin. Perhaps it could even be a card that we would prefer to have in the bin.
And it's interesting, there is a delighted halfling in Maximilian's hand, I believe. Playing it more conservatively this time.
Hello, I believe we have a card from Final Fantasy here that has entered the graveyard.
Oh,
I don't know what that one is.
It's the it's a cleric effect. A cleric. It's
Sephiroth?
Sephiroth, exactly. Some lists play 1, I believe, as a way to mitigate the life you pay to Yawgmoth's ability.
We saw Dredge's Insight coming down. That was going to get a Beseiju for Maximilian here. Notably foregoing a Young Wolf, a Yawgmoth, and an Agatha's Soul Cauldron, but we do see another Agatha's Soul Cauldron in Maximilian's hand, so Max probably not wanting the second one here. We're going to get Elegant Parlor from Mikita's side. Looking at the top card, is it something that we want to have? That is the question. Mikita eyeing up. Does he want that top card of his library? Or does he want it in the graveyard?
This game going this slow, I can see Mikita not committing to the board so much and trying to get a good Wrath of the Skies to resolve. It looks like he has a Thraben Charm in his hand, which can also be a well-timed piece of interaction.
It seems like a very strong card for that Agatha's Soul Cauldron in Maximilian's graveyard. We have an Arid Mesa to play. Mikita did keep the top card of his library off of that Elegant Parlor Surveil. And is he going to play a 2-drop now? He didn't play a 1-drop on his first turn. There isn't anything on the battlefield for him to answer other than that Dredge's Insight, and I'm not sure he's too keen on wasting Thraben Charm on it just yet. Does he have something to commit to the board and start asking questions of Max? Because if he doesn't, he's going to find himself falling behind very quickly. He passes the turn.
Yep. That's good news for Yawgmoth, not feeling any pressure, being able to, at the very least, get to 3 mana without having lost much life. And a cub is cast.
Here is a Badgermore Cub that is going to Earthbend that Underground Mortuary, which is now going to make 2 more mana as we see Agatha's Soul Cauldron coming down for the Yawgmoth player. And the great thing about having an Underground Earthbending and Underground Mortuary, if your opponent kills it, you get another Surveil. That's pretty nuts. I think that's pretty good.
Good value in there, yep.
I don't know, chat. Is that good? Is that good? I think it's pretty good. But Makita's not really done anything, and now Max has this massive board, largely off the back of that Badgermole Cub, which has given him way more mana, allowing him to double spell. Here's a Galvanic Discharge. It's going to answer the Cub. Interesting that he used it then, and not with the Earthbending trigger on the stack.
Yeah, that would be way better, especially after we see the play. But even you would always consider that you're gonna he's gonna cast a 2-drop after that, so making it a little bit sooner could have been better there. But they're shocking. Do they have something else? Is that a wear tear maybe?
Perhaps. No, here's another Galvanic Discharge going to answer that Underground Mortuary. That is going to cause a trigger to go on the stack to return it to the battlefield. That is going to give Max another Surveil. It looks like Makita passing without making a 3rd land drop.
Oh, everything was in response to the Soul Cauldron, so he could
no, my bad. Yeah, my bad.
Save more energy.
I think Ajani was the draw for Makita here. Do we have a 3rd land to play for Makita? Do we have anything to commit to the battlefield? If we have Ajani, are we going to play the Ajani? Makita looking to activate Agatha's Soul Cauldron here. That's gonna pass. But Makita passes without playing a 3rd land drop. He's got nothing.
Yep. He is probably somewhat overboarded in a bad sense, but in the sense that he has more answers than threats. And a Rumble.
Well, he has access to an Ajani in hand, but it looks like he's preferring to leave up a Thraben Charm instead of developing his board and playing the Ajani. But is that not just giving the Yawgmoth player more time here?
It is, but at the same time, 2 key cards are already in play, which is the Insight and Soul Cauldron. So if you were to rumble into Young Wolf and Ballista, he would go infinite life in this particular turn. So it's a good play to have it available, I think.
Absolutely. Makita recognizing that he can just lose the game if he casts this Ajani, but definitely not the position he wants to be in, missing his 3rd land drop on the draw against Yawgmoth and having absolutely nothing in play. It looks like a March of Otherworldly Light has entered the grip. And we're going to see it cast here. We're going to exile a Voice of Victory and target that Agatha's Soul Cauldron. Does Maximilian let it pass? He's going to look to activate that Agatha's Soul Cauldron in response. What is he looking to... Is he looking to target anything here? He takes it back. Perhaps he has a different play in mind.
Yeah, he could just eat another creature to gain life, but I think I would go towards Mikita's graveyard that has now 5 cards to help escape a Flage.
It looks like he exiled the Badgermore Cub in response here to put a counter on his Eldrazi spawn and gain a life. Max is now up to 19. Mikita's got to be feeling like he's got an uphill battle here. Surgical Extraction is the draw for Makita. That's
Really?
quite strong with a Cauldron in the graveyard. Perhaps you want to answer that.
Yeah, exiling Cauldron would be quite nice. There's also, I think, is it 2 Young Wolves or 2 Fatal Pushes in there? I'm not sure which artwork is it.
I believe they're young wolves.
Young Wolves, right?
That's what I think. They might also be delighted halflings. Oh no, they're young wolves. There is a halfling, but there is also 2 young wolves specifically. And now we see a Johnny come down, and a pass of the turn. Makita misses his land drop again. Do we see Orcish Bowmasters come down? Yes, we do. That's just going to answer that immediately. That is going to flip the Ajani, if Makita wishes to do so. It looks like he has opted not to flip Ajani at this time.
Yeah, it would instantly die to even to the 1/2 spawn.
It really isn't often that you see somebody deliberately killing a cat with an Ajani in play, but Maximilian recognizes that if he flips the Ajani, he can just kill it with all of his creatures. He's cracked a wooded foothills here, getting a basic forest. Is Yawgmoth about to come down?
Ooh,
no.
Lord.
We're going to Call of Calling for it instead. And here is the Thran physician himself coming down onto the battlefield. And it's not looking good for Makita from here.
Yeah, luckily to him, he has the surgical. Otherwise, it could be if it would find the young wolf would be pretty devastating.
And now we see Yawgmoth doing its thing. We're going to sacrifice the Orc army token to put a -1/-1 counter on the Ajani. Young Wolf is going to come down now. We've seen this sort of thing before. Young Wolf going to sacrifice itself to the Yawgmoth, targeting the Ajani. That's going to take 1 life. Is this the opportunity for Makita to use the surgical extraction? Yes, it is. We're going to surgical away those young wolves.
Yep. If there's no endurance to respond to this, whoa, no, there is not.
Now we see a murderous cut and a crawl harpooner.
Oh, I haven't
Guild
seen.
of Ravnica. That's a blast from the past.
I haven't seen that in a while. What does it do?
So it has an ETB ability.
A fight, maybe?
With undergrowth. So it gains, when it enters, it gains +X+0 for each creature card in your graveyard. Then it can fight up to 1 target creature you don't control with flying. So you can choose you choose the targets first. It gains +X+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Then you may have this creature fight that creature. So it can answer flying creatures, essentially. But it's also just a 2-mana 3/2 with reach. So a very respectable 2-drop.
Yeah. We have some comments in the chat that it kills Clarions. Yeah, that's a good response to it.
Pretty solid. You really do need answers to Clarions in this deck. It's something you can get off a Green Sun Zenith, notably. So you can Green Sun Zenith for
True.
something that kills a Clarion.
Very true indeed.
That very relevant in these green creature heavy Green Sun Zenith decks. One of my favorite cards, I think. I played a lot of Green Sun Zenith in Legacy, and yeah, maybe I should get into playing Yawgmoth and sleeve up my Green Sun Zeniths again.
Okay, yeah, that surgical extraction did allow him to tap out for Ajani, but he didn't survive the turn cycle.
Did not survive the turn cycle, but notably has stopped Max from executing perhaps some of his more egregious infinite combos. Without Young Wolf, you don't have access to the infinite loop to gain infinite life or draw your deck, or maybe kill your opponent with Spymaster's Vault. So you've got to do a lot more work here, as we see now. We do see a Galvanic Discharge targeting that Yawgmoth with 3 energy. That is going to answer the Yawgmoth. And now we see Max sacrificing a bunch of creatures to draw a bunch of cards in response. Now that's going to resolve. We're going to go down to 2 energy. We're going to kill that Yawgmoth. And killing that Yawgmoth is, half of the battle. So
Yeah.
see, he's missed his land drop again.
Again, that's really bad. He does have the Thraben Charm still at the ready, and but
He can't cast it though, right? He's only got 1 mana up.
No, but hopefully, I don't know. It's just, ooh, is that a ballista for 3?
I
Looks.
think that is a walking ballista for 3.
Yep.
Not bad.
Yep.
Does Makita have an answer for it? That can snowball really quickly if it's not answered. Makita has done a very good job of staying in this game so far. Thraben Charm at the ready to deal with the graveyard. Has he finally drawn a third land? I think he would have played it by now, Ball.
I think so too. This is looking grim, and one of the lands is still the Spymaster's Vault, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And put some counters on that walking ballista and start pumping it up.
yeah.
Really do need to see something from Makita here as he passes the turn again with only 2 lands, but nothing on the battlefield. Looks like we're eyeing up 4 mana again. Do we have another Yawgmoth? I think we do have another Yawgmoth from Max.
Looks like it, yeah.
You see Walking Ballista coming in for 3 here.
Oh, there's a Weird there, but he's trying to bank in on fusing it, or not.
Nope, we're just going to play it in response to the pump. Max goes for a pump, and we're going to see where going down in response. That's going to destroy the Walking Ballista. We're still going to deal 3 damage to Makita, but Walking Ballista is down. And Max has wasted 4 mana.
Yep, yep.
It looks like Max is about to pass again. We're going to untap. We're going to draw. Is it a land? No, it's an Ocelot Pride. That's not bad as far as individual cards are considered, but here is an Ajani instead. We're going to crack a Windswept Teeth now. Are we going to get an Underground Mortuary, or are we just looking to thin our deck of lands and find something to answer this Ajani? We're going to get a tapped Overgrown Tomb.
I would consider actually a Dryad Arbor to pair with their Yawgmoth in hand, but maybe they have another fetch anyway. It's, yeah, Mikita's body language shows their frustration. Just throwing Johnny to the table. Does it resolve? I have a trigger. Is it good? It's unfortunate that he's mana screwed.
It is very unfortunate. Missing on his 3rd land drop for so many turns is incredibly unlucky for Makita, but it is a testament to him how he has nonetheless been able to survive this turn without that much pressure coming from Max's side. He had a really big board at one point, and Makita has found a way to reduce it to nothing, as we see now 4 lands being tapped. That's a Green Sun Zenith for X equals 3. We're going to shuffle that back into the deck, but not before we get a green creature card with mana value 3 or less. It looks like Grist, which is a creature in the library, is going to come down now for Max. Yet another threat that Makita has to find an answer for with just 2 mana.
Yeah. We have noticed there's a Grist in his in their hands, so there's an insect. Still not quite able to kill a Johnny.
That is going to mill a Green Sun Zenith as well for Max. But now we have a creature in play that can support the Yawgmoth that we believe is in his hand. But sacrificing an insect to a Yawgmoth to kill the 2/1 cat right now is much less of an interesting proposition for Max, as Makita will be able to untap with it and activate, and is just going to pass the turn instead with 4 mana up.
Interesting.
Does he have a 3rd? I think he's drawn a Flooded Strand.
Oh, nice. Please play the game. Yes.
Yes, he has drawn a Flooded Strand. We have a 3rd land from Makita. Makita now has a chance to, you know, maybe put something in play and answer something. This 3rd land is huge for Makita to get into this game. You know, Max outnumbers him 8-3 on lands, but Makita has managed to hold his own nonetheless, and the life totals have remained relatively even.
Yep. A lot of life gained due to Dredger's Insight, and not much pressure, of course, from Mikita's side. I'm not sure if actually killing the insect and attacking for 3 Grist is probably the play, because otherwise Grist is gonna go wide or kill creatures easily. Just a regular attack for 2. Jump.
See the attack for 2 on the grist, and we're going to see a trade here
Oh.
from Max. But here is a murderous cut that we did know was in the hand. In response, we're going to delve away 4 cards from the graveyard. That is going to trigger Dredger's Insight, gaining some life for Maximilian. That's going to kill the Ajani before it can flip. And Mikita now has nothing yet again and is facing an active grist. Does he have something to answer it? No, but an Ocelot Pride is not bad if your name is Mikita Sharbaku.
I believe we saw that when he used the extraction, but maybe they forgot it was there or just had to go for it. You cannot just simply not play around the card that you, even if you know.
It looks like Fatal Push has been the mill.
Yeah.
Oh, Max, and Hapatra comes down now. And now a Yawgmoth in hand looks very appealing.
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna be allow them to crack 1, put a -1 on a Patra, create a snake. Actually, they don't need to put that. They kind of need if they want to create more. Are they passing once again? Maybe we haven't. We thought we saw a Yawgmoth, but there's no Yawgmoth at all.
There's a lot of borderless cards in this Yawgmoth deck. It could be anything else. Perhaps it could be something like a Beseiju that Mikita is eyeing up. But we're going to crack that flooded strand now as Mikita, and we're going to get an Elegant Parlor. We really need to dig for something now. We've managed to stick a creature for the first time this game. An Ocelot Pride is a pretty good one, all things considered. So we're going to look and see if we can find anything. Maybe to deal with this Hapatra, maybe get an attack in with this Ocelot Pride. Start to make some tokens and maybe put something together. As Max has had a big board, he's got a grist down, but he's not really been able to do much with his permanents so far. So Mikita seeing this as an opportunity to potentially break through and claim a lead despite overwhelming odds against him. He's going to untap. He's going to draw. What's the draw? It is a Goblin Bombardment Ball.
Ooh.
That's not bad. We're going to see the bombardment come down now. And now we have the opportunity to trade an Ocelot Pride with a Hapatra if we wish. We're going to attack the grist.
Oh,
but Beseiju is going to answer this Goblin Bombardment in response. That is notably going to get Mikita a land, something he's been very short on this whole game. That 4th land might make all the difference for Mikita.
Yeah. It turns their Thraben Charm online, so if they go, okay, now I'm gonna block your Ocelot with a Patra, they can use the Thraben Charm in the first strike damage step. But they decide not to, apparently.
We're going to sacrifice the Ocelot Pride in response to kill the 1/1 insect. An interesting play there from Mikita. Is Mikita going to get a land, or has he missed it? No, he is going to pick up his library. He's going to search for a land. Is he going to get a basic, or a shock, or something that will enter untapped? Maybe cast another spell, put something else in play. This is what Mikita needs. Otherwise, this Hapatra is really going to threaten to deal with something. And that grist as well. That grist -5 is a big threat on Max's side of the board. Potentially bring Mikita down to a very low life total.
At the same time, that Thraben Charm would be devastating if they decide to go for the ultimate there.
Oh no, but here we go. We have 2 Spy Master's Vault activations going on. We're going to draw 2, discard 2. That's going to put 1 counter on the Hapatra. Then we're going to activate again, draw another 2 cards, then discard another 2 cards. That is going to allow Max to sculpt his hand, maybe grow this Hapatra just that little bit more, maybe put creatures in the graveyard as well to allow that grist. It looks like only 1+1/+1 counter in play for that Hapatra. So a 3/3, but do we have enough creatures in the graveyard for this grist -5 to result in a kill? Agatha's Soul Cauldron comes down.
Ooh.
Is that enough? We do know that Thraben Charm is in hand for Makita, so we can deal with this Soul Cauldron if Max goes for anything.
So there will
Makita's
be.
gonna let it go.
Oof! But then there's an insect coming. They can exile Yawgmoth. Then the Thraben Charm will be key, so they don't go crazy.
Here's a delighted halfling. We're just gonna swing for 3 here. That's gonna bring Makita down to 7 life. And now Makita is in a very precarious position. He has missed on so many land drops. He has drawn not that many creatures. He had to lose a Voice of Victory to deal with a Soul Cauldron early on in this game. He's not... His deck really... It's felt like it's not cooperated with him that much this game. But he has still found a way to keep on going in the face of overwhelming adversity from the Yawgmoth side. And... But this is looking quite dire for him now.
Yeah, it looks like they targeted the Walking Ballista with the Agatha Soul Cauldron. So yeah, they kind of
like we're going to Thraben Charm in response. And it's going to exile all the whole graveyard. Please turn that sideways and put it in the downward pile. Thank you very much. No graveyard for you. Agatha Soul Cauldron is now going to whiff. But this doesn't deal with the underlying problem of the grist, the huge board state. It just looks really bad for him.
Yep. Yeah, it's still... I think... Even, yeah, their best draw would be probably a Wrath of the Skies, but still Grist would survive. But yeah, it's looking grim indeed.
It looks like we've put a -1/-1 counter from the combat damage trigger after the Hepatra attack, which is going to allow us to make a 1/1 snake token now. We have not activated Grist yet, so the option of a +1 is still there to maybe put something in the graveyard for next turn's Cauldron.
Oh,
well, yep. I shouldn't have said anything because that's about as good as it gets, right?
Yep.
And now Makita needs to find a way to deal with this because he's just dead otherwise. Like I think he's completely stuffed. There's a Flage, but
oh my god!
That wasn't a Flage. That was a Clarion Conqueror.
Oh, I thought
that's crazy.
Yep.
What a find!
And I was saying the best top deck was Wrath of the Skies. How wrong was I? Jesus.
I mean, it still was right, but Clarion Conqueror is just like amazing, right? You can't activate Grist. Hepatra is kind of a brick now.
Yeah, it does attack for 3 though, but
it does attack for 3, so maybe there's a world in which you find something. But how are you going to get Fatal Push online, for example? Do you swing in? You can swing in with a 1/1 insect, but is he really going to chump block and enable Revolt? I don't think he is.
Yeah, I don't think so too.
We are going to swing out here. Now Makita has the option to let this through, but no, a Galvanic Discharge.
Oh, interesting.
Is going to target Hepatra here and threaten to answer it. If there's a Fatal Push in hand now for Max, that is going to give him Revolt to answer this Clarion Conqueror and potentially go off now with the Cauldron. It's the last card in Makita's hand. He's tapped out. What is the last card in hand? Makita going to take 2... No, he's going to block the insect with the Clarion Conqueror. That means the snake is going to get through. He's going to go down to 6. Makita has been playing on the back foot for most of this game. He now has an opening. Can he capitalize? We're going to see a Spy Master's Vault activation. We're going to discard a Soul Cauldron. Is he going to activate the second one? Does he have a non-land card to pump up that insect to 3? No.
Oh.
No, he doesn't.
That was risky.
That was risky, but if he could get that trade, would have been huge for Max.
No, definitely. I mean, the block. Risky was the block. I mean, yeah. Oh, where are the flages? Come on.
Now we draw for turn. We want a Flage so badly here. We're at 7 life. A lot of Max's deck is in his graveyard. Clarion Conqueror has stopped the Soul Cauldron for the time being. So Yawgmoth in the graveyard is not a threat to him. Makita looking through the graveyard, counting the cards, trying to see what does he have left? What do I need to play around? He knows the Sephiroth has been dealt with. He knows that Young Wolf is not a consideration anymore. He's seen, a copy of Walking Ballista. Knows there can still be a few more. A Walking Ballista for X equals 3 can still answer a Clarion Conqueror. Does he want to attack? There's only one power in play. Grist isn't making any more. He's going to swing in. Maximilian is going to go down to 13 life. What is the card in hand for Makita? Is he going to pass? He doesn't have a Flage in the graveyard, so escaping is not an option. Just going to pass with 4 mana up. Makita, he's got a chance. It was looking dire for him, but he's got a chance.
Well, he's still facing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least up to 5 damage. Wow, not even attacking with the Halfling, though.
The Halfling is a 0-1, right? Because it's got a -1/-1 counter.
Oh, it's a -1. I thought it was a +1/+1. Okay.
It's a -1 from the Hapatra trigger, which is why the snake was on the battlefield in the first place.
Oh.
What are we doing now? That's a Green Sun Zenith for X equals 3. That's going to get an Endurance. That is going to put Makita's graveyard on the bottom, opting not to go for his own. Probably a wise choice, but now Clarion Conqueror does not have the option to attack. Makita has to find an answer for this Endurance now. Green Sun Zenith, a very good draw for Max. Green Suns now needs to shuffle into the deck. A very small deck, might I add.
Yeah, indeed. Maybe 15 cards each there. We haven't seen much Fatal Pushes, so they will be fun.
He did mill a lot of Fatal Pushes off of his Dredge's Insight and his Malevolent Rumble. We're going to draw a card now as Makita. What has he drawn? We need an answer to this Endurance, otherwise Endurance can start attacking, and Endurance is going to win the race. What does Makita have? Flage is still very respectable by some good time. What options does Makita have here? There are a lot of outs in this position. He really needs to deal with this Endurance. Flooded Strand is not what he's looking for. Just gonna pass the turn.
Oh.
Uh-oh. I'm not liking this right now. Makita has the option to just full swing now, right? And Makita has to block.
Yeah.
That is exactly what Makita does. Makita notably swinging with the Delighted Halfling, which is a 0-1. That's very interesting. But we do have 4 damage coming in.
Whoa.
He probably wants to block, but both creatures will kill the Clarion Conqueror, which is the one permanent that he wants to stay in play. And even if he manages to kill something here, Spymaster's Vault is going to grow his creatures further. If he draws non-online cards for them, of course.
What could be the last card in their hand, though?
Looks like Makita is going to choose to block the 0-1 Delighted Halfling. He's going to take 4, going to go down to a 1 here. We really need to see a Flage from Makita. What does Makita have? Makita has a Revolt if he has a Fatal Push. He's going to activate a Spymaster's Vault on the Snake. Going to draw and discard. What does he find? That is a land. Going to draw and discard again. That is another... Oh, that's an Orcish Bowmasters! Max is going to take down this game and make it to the finals of this tournament through the Clarion Conqueror. We thought Makita had a chance, but Endurance off a Green Sun Zenith and... Oh, what a game. What a game. That was crazy.
It was indeed. Back and forth, back and forth. No Flages to be seen. No Guide of Souls, Souls of Guide of Souls to be seen.
That was a nightmare. That was an absolute nightmare draw for Makita. Missing his 3rd land drop so many times, consistently. Not finding Guide of Souls, not finding pressure. just being stuck with 2 lands, a
Yeah.
3-bin Charm and a Dream, like, and then never drawing Flage, never drawing something like Spyro, Fable of the Mirror Breaker, Legend of Roku, to find something, just to do anything. I think maybe if one of his draws is different, he finds just one creature, one extra removal spell, one Flage. That game could be completely different. But
Yeah.
Max takes it down.
Yeah, definitely. A Boros energy deck that can gain so much life gained, I believe, 0 life during this whole this whole game. Really unfortunate to him. Yeah,
So
but it
rough.
didn't happen. That's variance in Magic.
Yeah, that's Magic. You can have the best deck in the room, but land variance is going to get you in the end, and you can just you just completely brick. And unfortunately, for Makita, just did not find anything. A real shame for him.
Yep. I believe we do have the final match available to us. We should be able to stream it in a couple of minutes, I believe.
We will do the finals very shortly. We'll take a short break, but before then, I will tell you that Kasper Schneider did win his semi-finals match against Jedrzej Smid. To that final match together, and very congrats to Max Przybylski and Kasper Schneider, both of you doing very well, getting to the finals of this tournament, and we're gonna have the finals for you very shortly. But we're gonna take a short break first. Myself and Bal, we need to chill after that third game because that was crazy.
That was crazy.
Like, wow, that game right there, I think, is an all-timer. Regardless, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we will have the finals of the Polish National Tournament 2025. Don't go anywhere. We will see you very soon. Hello and welcome back, everybody. It is time. We had 60 players coming to the Polish National Championship for the European Unity League to play 6 rounds of grueling modern Swiss, all to punch in their invite for the European Magic Cup and to be in with a chance of winning one of these absolutely beautiful bayous, a trophy, a playmat, a deck box, and the title of Polish National Champion 2025. It's a big accolade. It's great that we have these national championships again. And now we're down to just 2 players. We have and for the title. And we have a matchup and a half for you for this final match. Max is going to be playing Gorgori Yawgmoth, whereas Casper is going to be playing Gruul Broodscale. So 2 creature-centric combo decks. And I think it's going to be a very interesting match ball.
Definitely. We were just chatting a little bit what would be the standing least in this matchup, and I think it can go both ways. It's quite interesting. I would favor possibly the Gruul Broodscale deck due to Kozilek's commands and inevitability of Emrakul, but at the same time Yawgmoth can control the early board to some extent if they manage to sit Yawgmoth and some other creatures. So yeah, let's see.
Yeah, we'll see. And how about we spotlight on our players now as we head into game 1 of the finals of the Polish European Unity League Nationals tournament. We're in Warsaw, Poland, as we usually are for these tournaments. We've had a lot of destination qualifiers here, all in the modern format. We've seen a lot of these players before. But Max and Casper are our 2 remaining finalists. And Max as the top seed is going to be on the play, whereas Casper is going to be on the draw. We have Casper on the left and Max on the right. Yawgmoth going first against a Broodscale deck. Do you think it is an advantage? I mean, let's be realistic. It probably is. But how much of an advantage do you think it is?
Well, the ramp and early Yawgmoth can make the difference. A turn 1 Dork will ramp up, especially with the cup. I don't think the it can easily ramp up a Yawgmoth 1 or 2 turns earlier than usual, even if faced with a Kozilek's command exiling one of these creatures, because the cup would also help in this ramp scenario. But yeah, let's see. The early turns for the Broodscale deck are mostly finding pieces with what's it called? I had a blank. The green sorcery and malevolent. The ancient stirrings and malevolent rumbles will be usually the early turns for the Gruul Broodscale deck to do. So we have there can be some unholy hits main board, especially with the recent printing of Riddler. So it can also slow down the ramp from the Yawgmoth's player.
Absolutely. It very much seems like this matchup, in game 1 at least, you've got 2 very creature-centric combo decks. Yawgmoth doesn't typically have a lot of creature-based creature removal and interaction in game 1, whereas we know that cards like Fatal Push and Thoughtseize tend to come in after, post sideboard. as we see our players shaking hands before picking their sevens. But it very much feels to me like this game one might be a bit of a ships passing in the night scenario where both players are trying to execute their combo as quickly as possible. Maybe Brood Scale with Kozilek's commander doing a little bit more interacting than the Yawgmoth player is. But Yawgmoth just wants to get a combo as quickly as possible.
Yeah, both decks can go off as fast as turn 3, I would say. At the same time, some of the Yawgmoth's turn 3 lines are, here, I have infinite life, can you deal with it? And in this particular matchup, they actually can deal with infinite life. So it has to be something, it has to get they have to get the quote-unquote whole combo of infinite damage as well with Ballista or something like that. So infinite life will not be enough.
And here we are well and truly off to the races here. We started off from the Yawgmoth side with a Delighted Halfling, and now we are casting a Malevolent Rumble. The Casper on the Broodscale side has just played a Carplusum Forest into a Blade of the Blood Chief, a very important piece of the, let's call it the Splinter Twin combo, as it were. And it looks like we have access to some lands here. We've not played a second land drop yet, so that basic forest or even that verdant catacombs I see on the left-hand side could be options. Otherwise, we have a Badger Mole Cub and another Delighted Halfling. I see a Badger Mole Cub in the grip already, and it looks like Max is going to opt for the verdant catacombs, which he's immediately going to crack. Getting a basic forest, it looks like. Oh, sorry, it looked like a swamp was the basic off of the Malevolent Rumble and not a forest. Now we're going to get a Badger Mole Cub, and yeah, this isn't bad. I'd say this is a pretty good start for the Yawgmoth deck, right?
Definitely. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the land 6 mana on their turn 3. At the same time, they are faced with possible loss if they just pass, unless they deal with either the Blade or Broodscale.
Also, can I just say, hello, that's a Chord of Calling in the grip.
Oh.
That is a Chord of Calling in the grip. We have access to up to 6 mana, but even with just all of these lands currently, we can get a Yawgmoth, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nope, we're 1 off. But it looks like we are going to go for a Chord of Calling nonetheless, no?
With the land, it would be enough as a 7th mana source. 1, 2.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. X equals 3 for this Chord of Calling. What are we going to get? We can get any creature. Here is a Grist. That is pretty good, all things considered. That is an option that the Golgari Yawgmoth deck has in order to destroy creatures on the battlefield and interact. And it looks like we're going to -1 immediately, sacrificing our Earthbended land to kill that Broodscale.
Yep.
That is going to stop the combo for a turn at least, as Underground Mortuary comes down. Looks like Max is happy with his top card. Casper's going to untap and draw. He's got one half of the combo. Can he stick a Broodscale? I see a Boseiju. I see a Glaring Fleshraker in the grip.
He would be
What
short.
else is there?
Yeah, even he would be short 1 mana to combo off here if he had Broodscale. But anyway, yeah, he's in a tough position. Oh, he does have the Boseiju, but
Okay. He's going to play a Glaring Fleshraker for his turn. So he's going to pass the turn from there. Max is going to untap and draw. He's going to +1 his Grist. We see a Spymaster's Vault Mill. That's going to make a 1/1 insect.
Oh,
4 mana is going to cast a Yawgmoth. That's pretty good. And now Yawgmoth is going to do Yawgmoth things. We're going to sacrifice some creatures, put some -1 counters on that Glaring Fleshraker, and we're going to draw some cards. This is looking pretty good, all things considered. We've lost the Badger Maul Cub, but it's a worthy trade to get this Fleshraker off the battlefield, as that card, as we know, can go off very quickly. Perhaps Malevolent Rumble is something he's looking at. I see a Dredge's Insight as well. We're going to pass the turn.
he failed the land drop, otherwise he would still have some stuff to go off from. But he does have Rumble and Dredger's Insight, so he's pretty good for their next turn.
Let's not forget about the active Grist as well.
True.
That is going to represent a big threat. You know, milling cards, being able to answer creatures, something that the Yawgmoth deck outside of Grist, or maybe Orcish Bowmasters, doesn't really have that much access to. But Grist -2 providing solid creature removal against this creature combo deck. And I say, you know, if we had access to an advantage bar, I'd put it firmly in Max's position.
Yeah, definitely. And even the worst case scenario, if there's a big creature, they can -2 Grist for sure. Otherwise, they can keep milling stuff, and the insects will help Yawgmoth's ability to -1/-1 any small creatures that can come from Casper's side.
Absolutely. Casper really taking the time now to consider what he wants to do. I see an Eldrazi Temple at the front of his grip, and it looks like that is what he has decided to play here. Going to pay 4 mana. Do we see... is a Writhing Chrysalis in our future, perhaps? I think it might be. Yes, it is. Here comes a Writhing Chrysalis. We're going to get some 0/1 Eldrazi spawns in play.
Oh, equipping the Chrysalises would be great.
That would be pretty good. That would leave you with a pretty big creature. But let's not forget that -2 ability from Grist is available to him. He would lose the Grist, but, you know, perhaps it's a worthy trade for the Writhing Chrysalis here.
Yep.
So I believe a Malevolent Rumble was the draw. Delighted Halfling going to come down, and we're going to cast Dredge's Insight. We're going to look at the top 4.
Oh, there's a wolf.
There's
there.
a Young Wolf. There's a Walking Ballista as well. And another Grist. But Young Wolf is going to be the get.
If he has Soul Cauldron and a land, he could go Infinite Life.
Ooh, we do have a Verdant Catacombs here. Do we have a Cauldron here to go infinite? Casper doesn't have a means to answer this with just 2 colorless mana on the battlefield. Kozilek's command is not going to answer a Young Wolf.
Is that Mortuary's vault, though?
We're tapping 2. Is that a Soul Cauldron? Yes, it is. And we know about the Young Wolf in hand. We can gain infinite life here. And that is exactly what he's going to go for. He's going to exile that Walking Ballista under the... I'm going to put the counter on the Yawgmoth.
It's interesting that all of those... If he goes for infinite life, Chrysalises is an infinite creature as well. Be infinitely big, but no evasion, though. And still dies to Christ, so...
Now we do the infinite life combo, and Casper's going to pack it in. Maximilian is going to take game 1 against Yawgmoth, against Broodskale, sorry. We thought that Yawgmoth might be slightly unfavored in game 1 against this combo deck that has more creature interaction than they do, but Grist really showing who, you know, the Broodskale deck, who is boss, and commanding a commanding victory in game 1 here for Max, largely off the back of that Grist.
Yeah, actually, yeah, as the comments are coming, it was actually infinite damage as well, because the wolf doesn't need to ping itself for no reason, it just can ping face, and the sacrificial from Yawgmoths to up to 0 and drawing cards is net 0 life, so yeah, infinite damage, well, as long as they can draw cards, but yeah.
Absolutely. You know, Casper very dead in that scenario. Packs it in, goes to game 2, as we see Maximilian siding in a lot of cards, and I think we can reasonably assume that there's at least a few copies of Fatal Push, maybe a few copies of Thoughtseize. What else do we think that Yawgmoth is going to look to side in against this Golgari Broodscale deck?
I would say Force of Vigor and Oof, possibly, to slow down any equip shenanigans from the blade. The Force of Vigor can also go after an Urza Saga. Other than that, yeah, Thoughtseizes early on can be crucial, especially to deal with those Kozilek's commands, and I think an extra endurance also to keep that graveyard slow, because I would bring a third. I would definitely bring a third Emrakul. I think to try to have the inevitability at bay. At the same time, we have some lists, as we have been seeing throughout today, they could be running Grafdigger's Cage, which stops most of these young wolves from returning. Nature's Claims. Pithing Needle would be a great addition from the Broodscale deck. Then Dismember gets rid of Yawgmoth and any other key creatures. Fire Spout as well.
Fire Spout, not a bad option at all, to wipe the board. Notably doesn't deal with the Yawgmoth, though. But perhaps that doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, it can deal with most of the go-wide creatures that might be there, but yeah, it depends. Thief of Existence can deal with the Soul Cauldrons, but I don't know if that would be at some point overboarding, since we have the Nature's Claims. It can also deal with the Greased, but yeah, let's see. We have Veil of Summer as also a way to somewhat protect our creatures if needed from Yawgmoth's ability, and Unholy Heat.
The question from the Yawgmoth side, what do you think about Fulminator Mage in this matchup?
That could actually be good. At the same time, this is not I would see it more in a ramp matchup, in the sense there are more soul lands. This deck is only playing 4 soul lands usually. Some people actually play the Yugen's Labyrinth, but maybe 1 or 2 if they think they can take out some dead cards in the matchup. Otherwise, I think it would be too slow. So I think it would be better maybe for some Tron or Titan matchups.
All right, looks like our players are loading up their 7-card hands for game 2 here. Casper's going to be on the play now, which is going to give him a very good advantage against this Yawgmoth deck. But now Casper has to fight through all of the creature removal that Max has sided into his deck. So could potentially be an uphill battle for him, although he has some very potent interactive pieces of his own to buy him enough time to maybe ramp up to an Emrakul if his initial combo isn't quite going to work out. And we see a basic forest as the land for turn. Are we going to see something like an Ancient Stirrings to start us off? Yes, we are. We're going to look at the top 5 cards of our library and get a colorless card. And that basically means get anything in the deck. I don't know that there's anything that you can't get other than, I guess, more Ancient Stirrings and any copies of Rumble or Unholy Heat you may be playing. And it looks like Basking Broodscale was the get. Pretty good, all things considered.
Yep.
We're going to see a Shock and a Thoughtseize, though, from Max, and we're going to take a look at that hand. I see a Boseiju.
Ooh.
It's a Boseiju who shelters all. That's an interesting one. Or is it something else? No, it's a Nature's Claim.
Oh. Yeah.
My bad, it's a Nature's Claim. There's a Broodscale. There's 2 copies of Urza Saga. That's pretty good. Broodscale is going to go away, but there's the Blade. There's the Glaring Fleshraker. 2 copies of Urza Saga is also brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the correct pick because those sagas mean more swords. So taking out one sword doesn't, and swords can be answered with Besages. Yeah. Temple would be great here, though.
Ooh, that's a very good draw. Second copy of Ancient Stirrings.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe dig for something else here.
Maybe another Brute Scale.
Yeah, third is a saga. Why not? I'll just kill you. I'll just kill you with constructs. I don't need anything else. Yeah, maybe you could find a cage. Yeah. Great thing about the Brute Scale deck, so many of your cards are colorless. You can just find a lot of your really potent sideboard pieces, like your Silver Bullets, off of an Ancient Stirrings, which just makes the card even better.
Yeah, definitely.
I will say on a personal note, it's very nice to see Ancient Stirrings sort of doing well in the format and finding its place again. You know, I remember like back in 2020 when Urza was all the rage and everyone was calling for Ancient Stirrings to be banned because it was too consistent. And now being a very healthy part of the modern metagame, and as I think it will be for many years to come, we see Kozilek's Command, the get off of that second Ancient Stirrings. That's a very powerful card that's going to make it a lot harder for Max to execute a creature combo, and Blade of the Blood Chief is one half of the Brute Scale combo. So Max has got to be thinking about that.
Is that another Thoughtseize, though? They have
very well could be. I think Thoughtseize would be a very respectable card here, but no, we're going to see a Green Suns for 0. That can only get one thing and one thing only, and that's going to be a Dryad Arbor. I love a Green Suns for 0.
Do you not have a land drop? Maybe a Surveil?
He might not. That might be a problem for Max. Yes. No, it's just an underground mortuary, so using the Green Sun Zenith to ramp, not commit anything important to the board. We're going to see a forest put into the graveyard here. Still a full grip. I think I see a Beseiju in Maximilian's hand. Is the saga going to tick up to chapter 2? We can make constructs with just 2 colorless mana if we want to, but maybe Casper has other ideas. Maybe he wants to hold up his Kozilek's Command. Maybe he wants Glaring Fleshraker to take center stage. Plenty of options for him, Val. What do you think he should do?
I think considering Yawgmoth's turn was somewhat slow, I think he could commit to the Fleshraker and then just keep passing with open mana for Kozilek's Command, which naturally will find him more stuff and ping him, inadvertently pinging through the Fleshraker.
It looks like Casper agrees with you, but here's a Force of Vigor. That's going to get rid of the Urza Saga and the Blade of the Blood Chief. No constructs or blades for you, my friend. And now Casper's a bit behind.
Yeah, one could say that forced cast was possibly not correct because he would next turn not be able. Well, he was gonna lose the first saga anyway, so he would not ever had 2 colorless sources. But then any Grove of the Born Willows alongside a saga this turn would be allow him to cast the Kozilek's Command in the next turns.
Absolutely. We see a Verdant Catacombs cracked now from Maximilian that is going to get a basic forest into play. Looks like we're tapping 4 mana. Do we have something like a Yawgmoth? No, that's a Walking Ballista for 2. That is going to answer the Glaring Fleshraker somewhat inefficiently, but you'll take what you can get in this matchup from the Yawgmoth side. And now Casper doesn't really have that much going on. He's got a second copy of Urza's Saga and a Kozilek's Command, but a Kozilek's Command for 1 isn't the best thing in the world. But it might be his only option here.
No, it's uncastable for 1 at the moment. He would.
Oh, you're right. It's only the 1 colorless source.
Yeah.
So now it's just Nature's Claim that he can cast, or perhaps he has something else. We don't know what the unknown card is yet. Perhaps he has something up his sleeve, but Very much looking like Maximilian is in the driver's seat here, and even more so now thanks to this Gris that's going to tick up and make a bug. Another walking ballista enters the grave. Gonna swing in with a Dryad Arbor. The little Dryad Arbor that could swings in, and Casper's now at 19 life. What does Casper have? He's going to untap, he's going to draw. There's a Saga now able to make constructs. With not that much going on, it might be the only thing he can do. Looks like he might be about to make a land drop here. Yes, Eldrazi Temple.
Nice.
Now Kozilek's command. Kozilek's command for X is 1. Fine. Kozilek's command for X is 3. Spicy.
Yep. I'm not sure. Ooh, what else does he have? Oh,
Githing Needle is going to lock down the Grist. That's pretty good. Maximilian doesn't have a Force of Vigor for that one. He does have a Masaju. And a Yorgmoth he's drawn. Now the question on Max's mind. Does he want to play the Yorgmoth? It looks like he's decided on playing the Yorgmoth, but he had the option.
1, 2, 3. Well, even a land top deck now can deal with Yawgmoth, but yeah, it's interesting now.
It's certainly very interesting.
I would do some tokens though in the end step. Yeah, you dig for another.
Casper got a Kozilek's command for 2 here. Not going to make a construct. Is going to make 2 Eldrazi spawns and scry 2 and draw a card. Opting not to bank on another land to potentially answer this Yawgmoth. Instead prioritizing ramp and digging for something strong. But he's still on the back foot here, and I think Max has the advantage.
When I still think it could be a bit too aggressive, but I think maybe still in the end step, the Yawgmoth player should try to kill both spawns. At the very least, it's a way that Yawgmoth survives future Kozilek's command.
Certainly a very interesting play. It looks like Casper is considering what he wants to keep. He's scrying 2 now. He's going to draw a card at the end of this, perhaps deciding it might be that there is one card he wants and he's just deciding if he wants the second one or not. Because he will draw that at the beginning of his next draw step, which is about to come once this Kozilek's command fully resolves. Unless Max potentially goes for that play you mentioned and tries to kill both of those Eldrazi Scions. Looks like he is keeping both cards on top. That is going to make you a little bit worried if you're Max, but Max now going to consider if he wants to use up his Yawgmoth here. Looks like he's doing some Emrakul counting. Perhaps he's worried about the powerful Eldrazi Titan from Eldritch Moon.
Yeah, I believe it
could well and truly ruin his day.
Oh.
He's going to pass. He's not going to use the Yawgmoth here. We are going to draw a card now. I don't know that there's an Emrakul. But Urza Saga is going to trigger. Going to float a mana in response.
Oh, is that a brute scale? If the Ancient Stirrings in their hand and...
If that's a brood scale, then Max not using his Yawgmoth was a very smart play.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if he'd have just tried to kill the Eldrazi Scions, brood scale would be, Casper would be free to just get his Blade of the Blood Chief, get brood scale combo off. But now, it's not clear that he's able to do that. There's those 2 creatures. I'm sure Max would be happy to sacrifice to stop a brood scale combo. Perhaps Casper's got something else going on that can maybe throw a wrench in Max's plans.
If they have a Brute Skull, I think they can still win here
Okay.
because they can adapt in response to, meaning it's a 3/3 unkillable by Yawgmoth.
But can we do that now that Casper has used his Ancient Stirrings? That
I
makes
don't-
only the one green mana, so we
Yeah.
can't cast a Brood Scale and adapt. Perhaps Casper going for a line that's a little bit more solid, but also potentially missing that he just had a kill and the mana to execute.
Well, anyway, either way it would be impossible. In now that we see that he's only has 2 green sources, so you would need 1 to cast Brute Scale, 1 to adapt, and a 3rd green source to Stirrings for the outlet. So it wouldn't be possible,
It
apparently.
wouldn't spell the end of the game, but we have another Brood Scale is the get off of this Ancient Stirrings. So Casper does have a backup. And now he doesn't have to show the Brood Scale in his hand if he goes for a combo here. It looks like he's going to pay... is going to cast a Basking Brood Scale. He is going to float 1 colorless mana that he can only use to activate things.
I think he shouldn't have gone for it now, because this is just a free kill on Brute Scale and 2 cards.
But he's technically a 2-for-1, right? Max has used up 2 of his creatures to kill off this Brood Scale. Yeah, he has the means to build up the board again and maybe do the same thing next turn, but he's still up on resources in this exchange. Or maybe not because of the card draw.
Yeah, the thing is the card draw, because otherwise if he wants to draw if he wants to draw cards, he has to target the spawns, and then the spawns can be sacked in response and no cards are drawn. So in the end he just allowed them to draw 2 more cards.
Whether get in here.
Yeah, Yawgmoth's attacking. We saw Yawgmoth killing through combat damage a Boros player already.
Absolutely, and here's a Badgermore Cub. That is going to we're going to Earthbend that Underground Mortuary. 2 mana left. That is enough to activate a Boseiju if needed, and now Max has the mana up to interact with the Brute Scale combo. Casper is actually going to have to try and find another way to kill his opponent. Emrakul. How many types have we got? We have Artifact, Kindred, Instant, Sorcery, Land, Enchantment, Creature. So that is 7 types. Emrakul only costs 6. We can afford it with this Urza's Saga. Perhaps Casper has a response. Nope, he's going to allow the Urza's Saga to gain the ability to tap for mana. If he thought there was an Emrakul in hand, he could have activated the Boseiju there to stop the Urza's Saga.
They still had it with the tokens, and even if it was the Boseiju, they would get another land. So, but doesn't look like it.
Yeah, you're right. My math was off. We're going to see Urza's Saga come down. We're going to equip a Blade of the Blood Chief onto an Eldrazi Spawn. Gotta be feeling like if you're Max, gotta be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, definitely.
We know about the Brood Scale in Casper's hand.
Do we? We thought it was, but maybe it's not.
I was pretty sure it was one, but
it
is difficult to see.
Yeah.
Looks like he's passing the turn here.
If it was,
untap and draw. Haywire Might was the get.
Oh,
That's a good draw.
Yep.
That's a very good draw. It looks like that's going to be his play.
Oh,
Young Wolf first. Young Wolf first. That's probably wise. Young Wolf was always a good play. He's the goodest of boys. Looks like we're going to swing in with a Badgermore Cub and a Yawgmoth here. That is 4 damage coming in. Casper going to take it all, go down to 13. It's now 13 all between our 2 finalists. Remember, Casper needs to win this game to be in with a chance of becoming the Polish national champion. We're going to tap that Underground Mortuary Is it Haywire Mite time? Yes, it is. We've got a green floating. Are you looking to activate this Haywire Mite now? And if so, are we looking to target the Urza Saga, the Pithing Needle, or the Blade? What do you think? He's got his options.
Grist can only destroy creatures or planeswalkers. Does he still have a Bazager in hand that we know of?
I'm pretty sure he has a Basager, and he has the 1 green to cast it. But that could have been a Young Wolf the whole time. It's very difficult with these borderless cards.
Yeah. Then I think Pithing Needle is the best option because it gives you another creature for Yawgmoth to keep digging deeper, and Bazager is still available. So.
And it looks like Max is going to go for that Pithing Needle. That Pithing Needle should be in exile, and Casper recognizes and corrects it, and also remembers the Blade of the Bloodchief trigger, which triggers whenever any creature dies. Now Grist is fair game again. We're going to mill Wooded Foothills and start making some bugs, my friend, and we are in. Max still in a very commanding position. We're going to sacrifice the Young Wolf now, targeting the Eldrazi spawn that is not equipped. Casper going to sacrifice it in response so that Max does not draw a card. Looks like Max is just going to pass from here. Eldrazi Scion is now a 3/4. That's a big Eldrazi spawn. There's the Saga going up to 2 now. You can make constructs if he wishes, but I have a feeling that's not what he's going to want to do from this position.
Looks like a Rumble in his hand.
Rumble's not bad.
Yeah.
Rumble, a very respectable card. It looks like that's what he's about to cast. And there is the Malevolent Rumble. That is going to resolve. We're going to make another Eldrazi spawn. We're going to look at the top 4. Let's see what we've got here. Unholy Heat, Grove of the Burn Willows, Kozilek's Command, and Glaring Fleshraker. Oh, sorry, that's a Stomping Ground. So Stomping Ground and Glaring Fleshraker are the options. Unfortunate to see that Unholy Heat and the Kozilek's Command. Those are cards you really want to have in your hand.
Yep.
Glaring Fleshraker is very respectable right now. I definitely wouldn't complain.
Yeah, but Yawgmoth has, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 creatures available to deal with any incoming creatures.
Looks like Stomping Ground is going to be the get here. We can play that Stomping Ground if we wish. We can go down to 11 and shock it in. Is there something we really want to cast with the help of this Stomping Ground, however? If there is a Kozilek's Command in hand, then it's not a Brood Scale. That is an option. We're going to play the Stomping Ground tapped. Just going to pass the turn here. Max potentially eyeing up some tricks on the end step.
Maybe the Bazager?
Is it the Baseju? No, it's a Fatal Push on that Eldrazi spawn.
Okay.
That is going to answer the Eldrazi spawn on the end step. Now we're going to untap with a full board. This game is starting to slip away from Casper. Max might be in prime position to win the Polish National Championship 2025 with Yawgmoth. What are we about to find? Here's a Sephiroth now. That's very strong. Sephiroth is also a creature that triggers, I believe, whenever another creature dies.
Isn't that kind of game now? Basically,
sacrifice a creature to draw a card that is going to drain. That is going to drain Casper for 1 life. The 4th time that trigger resolves, we get to flip Sephiroth into a 6/5 flyer that, when it transforms, gives you an emblem, which reads: whenever a creature dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. It might be a target, but regardless, that will happen for the rest of the game now. And now Casper, I believe, is eyeing up a very powerful combo with the Sephiroth. We're going to sacrifice that Underground Mortuary, targeting the Young Wolf to put a -1/-1 counter on it. That's essentially going to take away the +1/+1 counter, allowing us to sacrifice the Young Wolf again and get another Undying trigger. We're going to draw a card off the Yawgmoth. We're going to drain our opponent. Casper goes to 11, Max to 16. And this Sephiroth is probably going to flip. I don't know what Casper can do about this from this position.
Yeah, if he finds another Young Wolf, I think it's game. Because, yeah, basically can keep targeting the Young Wolves to cancel each other's +1/+1 Undying counters. And the life cost of sacrificing 3 Yawgmoth is 0, but it's Sephiroth is basically draining Casper. So,
and now we have flipped the Sephiroth. We now have the emblem that is going to allow us to drain our opponents whenever any creature dies, and that will be in play for the rest of the game. I think we are about to crown our Polish national champion, Bal. I think Max is about to take this down with Golgari Yawgmoth, a deck that people weren't playing so much until Avatar came around, and Badger Mole Cup has been an instrumental part of bringing Yawgmoth back into the upper echelons of the modern format, and now it's about to take down the Polish national championship.
Yeah, it does look like it. Ooh, and we have a Grist Ultimate.
That's a Grist Ultimate. Is that enough? I believe we're counting 5 creatures. Yeah. And Casper extends the hand. Maximilian Przybylski is your Polish national champion. He has won a Bayou, he's won a trophy, he's won a playmat, he's won a deck box, and he has won the title of Polish National Champion 2025. Congratulations to him. He's on his way to the European Magic Cup in Bologna in February 2026. What a match. What a dominant performance from a deck that, at the start of this match, we thought was unfavored.
Yeah, we thought there would be somewhat enough interaction through Kozilek's commands from the Brute Scale list, but they were not there. And Yawgmoth is just, if Yawgmoth lands with a couple of creatures, it just can police the board out of Brute Scales attempting to combo, which we saw definitely in this last game.
Absolutely, a match that very much felt very, very dominant by the Golgari Yawgmoth player. And the Brute Scale deck, Casper on his side, not really having very many ways to answer the various creatures that the Golgari Yawgmoth deck was putting down on the table. And by the time he had like multiple copies of Kozilek's Command in all of those games, through so many Urza Sagas, and none of them were enough. Yawgmoth just completely overwhelmed him.
Yep. Force of Vigor, it was also somewhat key in slowing down that, basically, especially because the second Urza Saga would probably get a bubble to counteract any Force of Vigors, although they cannot be hardcast, but it slowed down a lot, especially also removing the second colorless needed to cast the Kozilek's Command, which took 1 extra turn cycle to be able to cast.
Absolutely. A very dominant performance from Maximilian, who played extremely well. I mean, that semi-finals match against Boris was an absolute joy to behold, and a testament to why, how he got to qualify for this tournament in the first place. This is exactly why he's here. This is exactly why he is the Polish national champion. And he gets to say that now. He's off to the European Magic Cup. Maybe, you can take it down for Poland.
Yeah, definitely. And if he so wishes, he can try to sneak in a Bayou in their deck list as a, it's an Overgrown Tomb. Oh, no, it's a Bayou. No,
oh, my bad. Oh, dear.
No, you did.
Qualified? Oh, no.
Yeah, he did win this beautiful Bayou altered by Shivan Art. And of course, he's not bringing it in their deck list, but congratulations. It's an amazing performance throughout this tournament. I believe he was 7-1.
Yeah, I don't think he dropped a match.
Yeah.
Just an absolute dominant performance in that tournament. And I think it's quite nice. It's quite, it feels like we've come full circle a little bit, that the Golgari Yawgmoth deck wins the Golgari dual land.
Yeah,
That's just nice.
yeah,
That's
that's
really nice.
poetic.
If you want to try and fail to build Golgari Gorgmoth in Legacy, there you go. I've just helped you out with it. You know, boss, you're done. But yeah, very dominant performance by Max. Congratulations to him. Very, very well deserved. And yeah, he's the Polish national champion. He did it. He took it home.
Yeah, congratulations. Quite a feat. 60 player tournament. Started this 12 hours ago, some 11 hours ago, I think. So, yeah.
A very, very wonderful tournament. Very diverse modern format. Very fun modern format. Play modern. It's great. I love modern. I wish I could play more modern. I just don't have the time these days. But getting to talk about modern is a lot of fun. So, thank you everybody who has come to watch. We've had a bunch of people watching us on Twitch and on our other platforms. It's been great to see the excitement for these players and the excitement for this format and the excitement for this tournament. Congratulations once again to Max for his absolutely dominant victory in the Polish National Championship. And before we go, I will just remind you that the European Unity League have put out a survey looking for feedback as to how they can improve the European Unity League, the circuit, the European Magic Cup, the national tournaments for next year. If you can find the time, I would strongly encourage you to fill in the survey, give your feedback, have your say. It's great that we have access to these national tournaments in Europe, and we've got so many strong players seeking to qualify for these tournaments. You know, the interest in the European Unity League. It's great to see how many people are keen to qualify. Please do give us your thoughts if you can. It will be very appreciated, and it will help them to improve the circuit for 2026 and for future years to come. That is all I had to say. So I think we're done here. I think it's about time we said goodbye.
Yeah, it was a magic packed day full of great and crazy matches. Pretty nice. If you haven't seen it all, you can see it once again on our platforms, YouTube and Twitch. So give it a look. Really crazy games, really good pilots, the best of Poland. So go check it out once again. And we see you soon enough, I think. If you follow us, our social media, you might be able to see some of our other national championships still taking place and see their streams. It can always be a good place to learn from other players.
Absolutely. Polish Magic staying strong. It's so great to see. I have had the pleasure of casting so many of these destination qualifiers, in Paprykarz, in Warsaw. It has just been great to watch a lot of these players over the past few tournaments and seeing people qualify, doing well, showcasing the best of modern and also the best of Poland. Poland has some really, really strong Magic players. And I look forward to seeing them absolutely crush it at the European Magic Cup next year. But that's it from me. That's it from Bal, who is in that direction. I'm good at this. I'm really good at this, I promise. We are signing off now. Thank you all for watching and for supporting the stream. It's been some great Magic, and we will see you again very soon. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.